again. This is like my new favorite. It's the organic Himalayan pink salt.
Oh, yeah.
So good, man.
I know.
Popped in coconut oil, so it has like this sweet little like coconutty aftertaste. So good.
Because I like to continue to try stuff, I'm now on the carbonated water train.
See, I've tried the carbonated water thing. I can't get into it.
It doesn't taste good. I mean, it's not like I don't enjoy the way it tastes, but I do enjoy cracking it.
Sure.
And I do enjoy it making me burp.
Yes.
That's good. I think what it does more than anything is it allows like sober people to like hold things at parties if they don't even want to drink beer. I almost had a non-alcoholic beer last night. I was at Topgolf and I almost ordered one because Kellen had told me how good the Heineken NA beers are.
Mm-hmm.
And there's like a Guinness non-alcoholic that's pretty good. And I was like, geez.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, they've stepped their game up now that they realize that
there's money to be made.
So, all right, let's invest in this, I suppose. My daughter was like, and I was telling her about it when I got it. And she was like, and it hydrates you twice as much as tap water. And I was like, that's not true. And she was like, well, it says it on, it saw it on this ad I saw. And I was like, yeah, that's not true at all.
Okay. That's a marketing ploy.
Yeah. It doesn't hydrate you any better. It's just water.
Right. It's just, right.
How
could it hydrate you better than water?
You can't put more water in water without having twice as much water.
Yes.
Come on, kid, use your head. Don't let marketing make you dumb.
Super condensed water.
Yeah, we found a way to pack H2O into 1H or something.
H2O2.
H4O.
Well, that wouldn't be. It would be H2O.
H4O2.
Yes. There you go.
I forgot.
Welcome to the Hoopercast. We talk about movies and not science. If we want science, we'll call Kellen.
Let's talk about the vaccine. All right. The real reason we're here tonight. Talk about.
Did you say wheel wheezing?
The wheel wheezing.
We're
hunting wabbits. To talk about A Quiet Place Day 1. I forgot this was coming out, and then I saw Lupita Nyong'o on Hot Wings, and then I was like, oh yeah.
On Hot Ones. Correction.
What did I say? Jesus Christ.
Hot Wings.
I'm such an old person. Oh my God.
That's the oldest thing you've ever said.
I saw her on the Netflix.
I saw her on the Tic Tacs.
Oh, I don't think I've ever been more embarrassed in my entire life in front of one single person to say what I just said. And you know me, Dustin. I am shameless.
I saw her on the Hot Wings. The Hot Wings program that was on the television.
All right. You guys will know if I've gotten over myself if that stays in the episode.
And if not, just leave that disclaimer so they're like,
I'm going to tell my future self not to be a wuss and leave it in.
Do you want to do a take two?
No.
Take two. Hey, tell me how you became aware of this film.
I saw her on the Hot Dings.
The Wingdings.
I saw her on the Wingding, the Wings and Things. I saw her on, I said hot Wings with such confidence.
I saw her on the Hot Wings. Hosted by Chris Evans. I think that Chris Evans guy hosted it, right?
Oh, wow. I've never been stopped in my tracks like that before. All right. All right. Yeah. Anyway, Hot Ones. I saw her in Hot Ones. I should know the name of the show because I've been like binging it lately. I just can't get enough of it.
It's so good.
It's really good. So she was on there recently.
You can't have a cat in here. It's a service cat.
each other. We have to get out of the city. If we stay here, we die.
I have a plan.
It's the end of days. No more people. No more New York. No more nothing.
So let me ask you before I dive in, how spoiler free do you want this to be? I assume you have interest in seeing this film.
I do, but I'm not in a hurry.
Because I know you like the other two.
I do. We can get into it at some point. I would want to know for the non-spoiler people what you think, but
yeah.
By virtue of that question, I know you want to talk about the spoilers.
I do, but I can keep it as vague as possible.
No, it's fine. For my purposes, it's okay. So we can go through it for the audience and then let it rip.
Okay. So, Quiet Place, day one, directed by Michael Sarnowski, who you may know from Pig. He directed Pig. So this is his first big studio film, and it was written by him, along with help from John Krasinski and Brian Woods. It stars, as you mentioned, Lupita Nyong'o. It also stars Joseph Quinn. They are our two leads of the film, but there is a tie to Quiet Place Part 2 in Jaemon Hansu, who's in this film. So it gives a little more context as to his backstory. But if we're being honest, not a lot. It's just he's in 2 scenes. That's all you get, but he's in there. And it does do, a decent job of tying to A Quiet Place Part 2 in that way. But the general plot, of course, is this is the day that the invasion happens. So we start with Lupita Nyong'o, who is, I don't want to give too much away because I think some of this was withheld in the trailers. But she finds herself at a specific point in her life that allows her to see this kind of cataclysm in a different way. She views it differently than most people would. And most people do. So she's kind of a unique character in this world in that sense. And the spot in life that she's in is one that's not really depicted much in these types of films. So that, of course, is kind of a breath of fresh air. And so she's in New York City, which is about as far away from that woodsy, small town vibe that the other two films give off. And so she's in New York City the day that it happens. And
which is the worst place you can be for a creature that attacks by sound. You're in a city of 10 million people, and
correct. It starts with
super congested,
with text on the screen that says, New York City gives off a constant, 90 decibels or something like that of sound, which is the equivalent of a constant scream. And so it kind of sets the stage for the fact that this is a noisy city and noisy people and noisy way of life. And here comes a monster that thrives on noise. So she is stranded in New York City and embarks on a quest to sort of reclaim a little bit of her humanity and, a little bit of a refusal to allow this catastrophe to become, to take over her life in that way. And so, it's an interesting film because I understand the premise. I understand the idea. And it's a great idea to say like, okay, we got a glimpse of day one in Quiet Place Part 2.
Yeah.
From the perspective of John Krasinski and his family. But what did it look like in these other areas? And this universe, this story actually lends itself well to this. I mean, a lot of these alien invasion films do, but you could kind of say like, oh, let's turn this into an anthology film series. And, now we're following Lupita Nyong'o's character, and the next one will follow a different character in a different place.
Yeah.
And you could kind of just
Paranormal Activity almost,
Yeah, pretty much. And you could keep this franchise going sort of indefinitely. And occasionally you could, have the characters from other films pop up in other ones, and you could create a whole Quiet Place cinematic universe. This film to me, though, doesn't quite prove the concept as well as I hoped it would. And by that, I mean, like, I've seen a lot of people who genuinely like this movie and were all about it. For me, just about none of these choices worked. And again, that's for me. It did not work for me. It was not to my taste. Now, I can totally understand and see why people would like this. And I understand why the writers went most of these directions. Some of them I don't. But it is a film that exists not really to fill in any gaps in our knowledge or give us any new knowledge, but just to show or depict a different place and time, different place, a different person. So if you're going into this hoping that you're going to see or learn more about the creatures, sorry to dash your hopes. You're not really. If you're going into this hoping to sort of recapture the magic of the other two films, to me, it doesn't. And if you're hoping that you'll get a little more of that, like what was so great about those first two films is like the humanity of it. This idea of like, imagine yourself and your family in this situation, or, if you're the father, if you're John Krasinski's character, how do you protect your family? Do you have what it takes to give everything for them? And this doesn't quite reach those highs, but it also doesn't aim for them. And so to me, like, that's a baffling choice. The film exists to be superficial. And it's a strange thing. I can talk more about it in a little bit, but the quest that Lupita Nyong'o's character goes on is superficial. And the nature of her relationship with Joseph Quinn is superficial. And so there's not that like deep-seated emotional heart to this film that the other films were known for. So to me, while I understand the idea of like, well, maybe we just do everything different. Like, I understand that mentality. Okay, woods, well, we're going to be in a big city. Quiet town, we're going to be in New York City. A family, okay, well, this is just a person and she meets another person. There's no familial connection at all, or really even friendship. So I understand the idea of like, let's give the audience something completely new that they haven't seen before. But the execution of those ideas, I think, is lacking. And I think even the execution of, or maybe even just the concept of, let's follow two people who don't have connection with one another prior to this invasion, like that choice doesn't make sense to me, because you're handicapping yourself, your own story to. And it like betrays again what made the first two films so special. So if you're going to set a film in the same world, granted, not every character in the world is connected to other people family wise. Familiarly. Well, how do you say that? I don't even. I know what I'm trying to say, but I can't say the word familially. Anyway, whatever the adverb of that is that an adverb? I don't even know. What am I doing? I think it was on Hot Wings. It was on Hot Wings. So anyway, all that to say, like, I understand the thought process, but I also don't, because you're limiting yourself to an unfair degree. Like, it's unfair to yourself. So yeah, I mean, I think filmmaking wise, like, the direction is fine. The cinematography is mostly boring, but it's fine. The acting is good. Like, Lupita Nyong'o's a really good actress, and Joseph Quinn is also likewise very good. The problem is the story, and that to me is the crux of the whole thing. The story is weak, and the characters are weak. So you can put the best actors in the world in these roles, and they can only elevate it so much. I will say this, your enjoyment of this film, this is a very weird statement, so stay with me. Your enjoyment of this film really hinges on one cat. So the film, in the film, Lupita Nyong'o's character, Sam, has a, you'll like this connection. Let me emphasize it better. Lupita Nyong'o's character, Sam, has a cat named Frodo, who it's like an emotional support animal. And so she carries this cat with her everywhere.
Uh-huh.
Your enjoyment will vary because this cat does not behave like a cat behaves. Ever. Not once in this film does it. Like, I came home, my wife didn't go with me for this, but she was like, so how was it? And I was like, a little annoying. And she goes, why? And I was like, because of this dumb cat. and she was like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, there's a cat in the movie that doesn't act at all like a cat. So here's an example. The monster, whose sole means of finding you is sound, breaks into this enclosed space. This happens in the first few minutes of the film. So breaks into this room, and Lupita Nyong'o's in there, the cat's in there, and to avoid the cat making too much noise, she grabs the cat and holds it close. The monster comes around the corner, the alien, and there's like, this over the shoulder kind of shot. You're seeing the monster kind of in the background, and snarling and growling and listening. And this freaking cat, who any cat on the face of this planet would be in that situation, its owner is like convulsing and trying not to make noise. That cat is screaming and clawing and running away.
Yeah.
Hissing, pitching a fit. But this cat stays perfectly still, perfectly quiet, doesn't purr, doesn't mew, does nothing. Like, there is no sound from this cat. And this is not the only time in the film that the location of our characters would be given away by a cat that makes not a sound. Despite the fact that a cat does not know to not make a sound.
The cat read the script.
And a cat's every inclination is to always be a jerk to everybody. I'm sorry. If you have a cat, you're getting eaten first.
What bothers me is that the emotional support animal's name is Cat. Jesus, I can't.
The emotional support's name is Hot Wing.
Chris Evans.
Hot Wings the cat.
Hot Wings
with Chris Evans. Hot Wings the cat.
We should stop the carbonated water because it's sapping my. I think I'm just drinking Dum Dum juice. So I have a problem that Sam has a cat named Frodo, and Frodo is an emotional support animal when it's really Sam that should be the emotional.
It should be flipped. It should be flipped.
Her name should be Frodo.
Yes. These writers didn't understand Lord of the Rings. They just wanted to make a clever reference.
Good job. You fucked it up.
Yeah.
Congratulations. You're wrong.
John Krasinski should have let Dwight write this. Dwight would know.
Krasinski's somewhere listening right now, like, I'm just a story by credit.
Yeah. Krasinski's literally just going like, look, I just approved
I'll just
it.
put my name on it.
I don't know. It's whatever. I was working on If. Yeah, man. Your enjoyment will hinge on this, how well you can suspend your disbelief on that fact. And I was continually perplexed by the fact that the writers throughout the film, never wrote that cat out. There were opportunities for the cat to leave, escape, be killed, be left behind. And that cat stayed that entire time. And as a writer, I'm looking at it going, you're making your own job so hard, writers.
Especially
like,
a writer-director. I'd be like, write the animal out of the script as soon as possible.
I've got to work with this animal.
I have to hire a trainer.
I have to direct this animal.
Think about the budget.
Yeah, right.
Bro.
Write the cat out. So so I have that issue. The other issue I have, and this is not a spoiler per se, but I suppose if you want to go in completely clean, this is Act 1 stuff. But if you want to go in completely clean, avoid this section. Joseph Quinn. So there's a moment where Lupita Nyong'o's character is moving through the city, and she comes across something, and the cat gets startled, and this is the time the cat actually runs away. So the cat runs away. This is a good opportunity to write the cat out, and she can never find the cat again. But lo and behold, she goes and ducks into an alley, and the cat runs away, and the cat's walking through the streets of New York, the abandoned streets, and finding puddles to drink from and whatnot. And eventually it comes across a stairwell that leads down into the subway, and it's completely filled with water, water all the way up to the top, all the way up to the surface. And the cat's drinking out of this big, water puddle, and out of it comes Joseph Quinn's character, and he's gasping for air. He's clearly been in the subway and has now swam his way out. And he gasps, catches his breath, and no aliens attack him, even though he's gasping and panting. But he and he kind of calms down because he looks and he sees this cat looking at him, and he looks at the cat kind of in amazement, and the cat runs away, and then the very next thing is Lupita Nyong'o's character in an alley, and the cat's at the edge, at the entrance of the alley, and she's like, "Oh, Frodo," and the cat runs over to her and she pets the cat, even though I'm that cats aren't dogs. They can't find you. They don't care to find you. But the cat found her. She's loving on the cat, whatever. And she looks up and Joseph Quinn's character's there, meaning that he followed that cat to Lupita Nyong'o's character. And then she says quietly, thank you, whatever, and thinking he must have brought the cat, but the cat brought him. And so she walks away. She's now, on her quest. She's walking away, and he just follows her and stares at her now in amazement, and decides to stay with her. And she eventually is you have to leave, leave me alone. I don't want you to be with me. I don't know who you are. This is creepy, whatever. And he's just okay, but continues to follow. And there's no reason given as to why. Now, I assumed at some point there would be a revelation that oh, I had a cat that looked just like that. Or the revelation of hey, I'm actually your neighbor, and we've walked next to each other a million times, and we've never really noticed each other, but I recognized your cat, and it led me to you. Something some reason for him to follow that cat to her.
Oh, we were childhood friends. I think I recognize you.
I recognized the cat. What? There's got to be a reason, because here's the deal. If I'm Joseph Quinn and I'm in the water, in the subway, and I swim to the surface, and there's a cat drinking from the water and staring at me, I'm not following the cat. we're being attacked by aliens. What is the cat going to lead me to?
Yeah.
I have no reason to believe the cat's leading me anywhere. That's
a noisy animal that's going to get you killed.
It's a noisy animal. I guess she had a collar on. So Frodo had a collar on. So like, okay, maybe I know maybe she'll lead me to people, but again, are the people she's trying to lead me to even still alive? Like there's no reason for that. Then why does he follow her? There's no reason. Now, if she had like a machete or some weapon that he could like, oh, you can protect me. Okay, maybe. But she doesn't. So there's no reason for him to follow the cat. And then there's no reason for him to follow her. And again, like I said, maybe they lived on the same apartment complex and they've just like, she's never noticed him. Or maybe, like you said, they're childhood friends or they went to high school together or something, right? Like there's got to be some reason for them to be together, and the film never offers that. And I guess there's the idea of like, maybe it's a thematic thing of like, well, in this situation, unlikely people are brought together by their, common humanity, but that's never really hammered home enough for that to feel true or accurate. It doesn't feel thematic. It just feels like, hey, we have we have one character and that character needs to be able to talk to another character. So we have to write a second character. Well, how do we get them together? Okay, well, maybe they're family. Well, we've already done that. Okay, well, maybe they're friends. Well, we kind of already done that. Okay, well, then they don't know each other. Okay. Well, then how do you justify it? And so that's what I'm talking about. Like nothing in this film works for me because it hinges on illogical character choices like that. Yeah. And then he, like Joseph Quinn's character, never attempts. He embarks on this quest with her, but he never attempts to do anything of his own. Like surely he has a home somewhere. Surely he has a job. So he mentions he's a student at a college. Okay, so he's got a dorm. He has something to go to.
Where do you dwell, sir?
But he's just on this quest with her. But why? There's nothing about her that looks or appears special enough for him to devote his existence now to helping her with this quest, right? So, I don't understand that choice. And I don't understand the writer's choice to be like stuck to this cat. And then that leads me to my next point, which is the film feels derivative. Now it feels derivative of itself, of its own franchise, but part of that's inescapable. It is a lot of the same thing. I'll give you an example. This is Quiet Place Day One. You would expect there to be a good chunk of the film of them learning that they have to be quiet, right? That early in the film, people are being annihilated and we don't know why.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out, oh, it's the noise. They're attracted to the noise. The way that it plays out is this. In the before the title sequence, before it says Quiet Place Day One, the invasion happens. And Lupita Nyong'o's character, in all the commotion, gets knocked unconscious. And when she comes to, she's awoken and Jaemon Hansu is there and he's saying, shh.
Uh-huh.
And now everyone's quiet.
Uh-huh.
So literally the very next scene after the invasion is they already know to be quiet. So it's derivative of itself because it didn't take the opportunity to allow us to see them not being quiet and learning by the end to be quiet.
Too
but
expensive.
Instead, right. But yes, then we have to have a set recordist for audio dialogue. And like, why would we do that? So
we already dumped all our money into this cat and its trainer.
Exactly. So I'm like, it feels derivative because it's the same thing. Like we were dumped into the first Quiet Place with, you have to be quiet. Yeah. And we're dumped into this film, this prequel film, the same way. And so it feels derivative itself. It feels derivative of Alien in a lot of its encounters, like the encounters with the creature, feels derivative of Alien, the way it's shot, the way that it's, the way that it's structured within the story. But then even like, if you remember in Alien, Jonesy, the cat, plays a pretty big role. And I can't stop myself from thinking of it. That was the cat just an homage to a better film? I don't know. All I know is that it doesn't work in this film, and it did in the other. It worked in Alien because Jonesy, Jonesy was acting like a cat and meowing and calling attention to the creature. And it feels like at any moment the cat could be completely decimated. This cat feels completely invincible.
Yeah.
And the cat in many sequences of this film, including the one I've already described, leads the characters to the next place, as if the cat is omniscient, as if the cat knows where to go. And this is a problem. Then in a lot of it, the cat is inside a bag, like she's holding a bag and the cat's in the bag. And so they're, doing their thing, but there's like moments where she's like in a sprint and like all these things. I'm like, that cat is not okay. Is pooping in that bag and throwing up in that bag.
Get the fuck out of here right now.
The bag goes underwater at one point and the cat just gets out of the bag and like shakes off. I'm like, that cat was underwater for 3.5 minutes.
Yeah, that cat's dead.
It's dead. It is dead. The cat, you're telling me the cat held its breath? Oh, yeah. We're going underwater. That makes no sense. So it's stuff like that. It's illogical. It's derivative. It paints its feline protagonist as omniscient and all-knowing, and it doesn't make any sense to me. And I, all right, it's a little bit of a spoiler. Like, this is a spoiler as to what the quest is. If you want to go in completely blind, but this affected my enjoyment of the film. The quest of the film is Lupita Nyong'o's character wants to go get a slice of pizza. So while everyone else is trying to locate family and friends and get out of the city.
This is the ultimate like dink like problem,
Yeah.
As a father, I'm offended by the simplicity of this quest, because I'd be like, I need to make sure my kids don't get killed, get out of the city. And she's like, I think I want some pizza.
Right.
Fuck you.
It's literally like, she explains it at one point, like, somewhere there's a pizza place and there's the last slice of pizza you'll ever have sitting in that pizza place. I want it. And now, in the movie's defense, later in the film, there is a little more like emotion put behind why she may be seeking this slice of pizza.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, she's still seeking a slice of pizza. Compared to A Quiet Place, which is, I have to protect my children, my newborn child, my wife. How do I do this?
Yeah.
Knowing that I've already lost one.
Yeah.
Like, that's a human, like, and like, this is human too, but like,
sure.
that's a real emotional gut punch.
Yeah.
And so then for this, it feels a little bit like, as soon as the quest is outright stated, what she's going to do is go find pizza. The only thing that came to my mind is it's like the sound effect of like someone spitting into a spittoon, just like a ding, like just like a hollow thud of like, oh, it's like nothing. There's nothing here.
This is like Harold and Kumar go to White Castle.
Yeah, pretty much, but with aliens. And not funny, devoid of all humor, and logic. And it just kind of like hit me when the quest was stated that like this is what the film is going to be about, that I was like, I just don't think that's a strong enough quest. Like, I think you could make that strong, but it has to be different. Like, if somebody handed me the key, like this script, and said, you can change anything, but the quest still has to be for pizza. My first thought is, okay, I have to establish why the pizza is important, but it can't just be important to one person. It needs to be important for the people going on the quest. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, if it's just that she wants pizza and he's going to help her get it, then it really rings hollow because there's nothing for him. So maybe
it's only one slice.
Yeah, right. So maybe the idea is like, hey, these are old college friends, and they have there's 3 of them. And in the opening, the first act, the inciting incident maybe is that the third best friend from college gets killed by the alien. And in his honor, in his remembrance, we're going to go to his favorite pizza place. It's still weak, but like that feels a little weightier. Like we're doing this to remember our fallen friend. Like there's something, more noble about that quest that unites the 2 of them in this journey. Yeah. Like, we're going to do this, and we're going to do it because that's what he wanted. Like, that's what we always went here during college. Like, during our college years, we lived on this pizza. Like, if I'm going to die like he just did, I'm going to die having this pizza. Sure. It's still weak, but like, give it something. And again, they tried, but they tried in later in the third act, like later in the second half of the film. It's probably actually more like end of the second act, I guess. They tried to give it a little more emotion as to why she wants this pizza, but it just falls flat. Because even what I just suggested falls flat. Like, it's tough.
I've got an idea. How about they're in the sewers or whatever, the subway, and the cat poops out a really long scroll, and they open this magic scroll, and it says the pizza will kill all the aliens.
Hey,
just go and eat the one pizza, and it has to be you.
Eat the pizza,
lo pizza Nwango, and it is your destiny. You're the chosen one. And she's like, by God, I shall eat the pizza. And he's like, I will help you because I want to lay you. And that's why he's going. Because why else is he here?
Right.
And she tells him the whole time, hey, just so we're clear, I appreciate the help, but I'm going to just take the pizza and go. This isn't happening. And he's like, sure. I think it will, but sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. It's better. I mean, look, at this point, I'm open to anything. Let's workshop it a little bit.
The movie's called A Friend Zone Place.
A Friend Zone Place. I mean, what if it's literally like as simple as we're going to go to this boat. There's a boat that's going to take us off of the island, and it's going to take us somewhere else. Okay, we're going to the boat. Hey, there's a pizza place on the way.
There you go.
Okay. Yeah. So we're going to safety.
Yeah.
But by way of the pizza place.
Grab a slice on the way.
Yeah, we're going to grab a slice. Look, here's the deal. If that ferry's taking us out of New York, I'm getting the last slice of New York pizza I'm ever going to have.
Exactly. Right? There we go. That works.
There you go. But and then it's not like emotional pizza. It's more like the actual escape from New York is the emotion. The pizza is like the reward for the job well done. It's if we put this in Back to the Future terms, the goal is getting your parents back together. The reward is the new truck.
Right.
The goal is safety. The reward is the pizza.
It's the pizza.
I don't know. Like it's I don't know. It just feels like a weak thing.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. Like it's an okay plot if you're doing a Ninja Turtles film, like
or Harold and Kumar,
or Harold and Kumar. Yeah. Like we got to get a pizza, bro. That's fine.
Yeah.
Sure. Whatever. But like for this, it just doesn't feel right. Now I have some grievances more in spoilers that things that don't work for me, things that feel derivative, but all that to say, like what it amounts to, I know that what people are saying about this film is like, it's fun, right? I had fun with this. I've even heard a lot of people who say like, hey, it still gives us a lot of really good character. And I'm like, I don't think it does. Like it gives us a lot, like Lupita Nyong'o is an okay character. Elevated by the performance. Joseph Quinn does nothing, is a mystery. Like, why is he helping? Again, there's no logical reason for him to be in this film, for that character to be in this film. And I understand that you might think it's fun, that you might be able to lose yourself in it. I can't suspend my disbelief enough to believe the cat is a cat and not like Gandalf himself leading them on this quest or like God leading them through this quest by way of cat. I don't buy it. I can't buy it. The cat doesn't act like a cat.
Or Anubis, who's a god and a cat.
There you go. Right. Was it Anubis or was it Isis? I think it's Isis.
Is Anubis the underworld?
Anubis is the dog?
Oh, Anubis is a dog, isn't it?
A jackal. Wait. Represented as a jackal or a man with the head of a jackal. Yeah. But Isis is a cat, right?
Oof. Well, I don't know. I thought Anubis was a cat, so who knows?
Also,
Jackal.
don't just type ISIS into Google because that gives you something different.
Man, there's some sweet ass renderings of Anubis, though.
Right? No, Isis is not a cat. Isis is a woman. There is an Egyptian cat. What?
It is Bastet.
Okay.
What's Sekhmet? I thought Sekhmet was something. Sekhmet is a lion-headed goddess. All right, we're learning a lot.
Okay. Well, this is what happens when your best frame of reference for Egyptian history is the Mummy.
Anaxanamun.
You don't come to the Hoopercast for science or history. You come to it for movie reviews. That's all we can give you. That's all we've ever tried to give you. Now I'm embarrassed. This episode, how embarrassing.
How embarrassing.
How embarrassing. An embarrassing place, day one. Yeah, man. So I understand if somebody says, look, I had fun with this film. Great. I'm glad you did. I can't suspend my disbelief enough to get there. And I'm baffled by the choices the writers made. And so there you go. So really nothing in the film worked for me. But it's not a bad movie. Like there's nothing in it that I'm like, this is a terrible, like it's not. It just doesn't work for me. Yeah. And maybe it does for you. And that's fine. So to each their own.
So what are the rest of the spoilers? I want to hear.
I mean, down to the last frame. Are you?
Yeah.
Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in. Let's do it.
All right. So they go on the quest for the pizza. So here's the deal. Lupita Nyong'o's character is dying of cancer. So in the opening scene, it opens, she's in hospice. And the reason she's in New York is they take a day trip to see a play. And so she is in New York when the invasion happens. And so anyway, she has cancer. She knows she's about to die one way or another. So she wants this slice of pizza. Sure. And they eventually say like, okay, she has an affinity for this particular pizza from this particular place because she used to go there with her dad when she was younger. Okay.
Uh-huh.
I think it's weak, but whatever.
It feels like that would work for if this were like a indie drama about this very same character.
Sure.
Instead of dropping this character into a horror film.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, I know that you view it as your mortality is going to run out any time now, either way. Yeah. But I feel like you're taking an unnecessary risk versus finding some happiness in the face of a terminal disease.
Yep.
You know?
Totally. And it feels to me like, if the idea was I want pizza, like pizza represents her old life, I guess. Why does she want it now? Like, what about now? Like, she's going to die. So the impending death from an alien to me isn't strong enough to make me say I'm going to now go when I could have just escaped the hospice care unit or checked myself out. Like they don't hold you against your will at hospice. Right. So like she could have just gone at any point. Or like maybe they don't want you having pizza in hospice, but can they stop you? Like, I don't know how hospice works. Like if you're like, I'm an adult, I'm using my money to order a pizza. Would they confiscate it?
Right.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but I'm just like, why now?
Yeah.
And so you'd also expect at some point, like I said, you'd expect that like his amazement with the cat would come back into play or his amazement with her would come into play. It doesn't. You'd expect that her cancer would come into play. And aside from one moment where she says, I need my medicine, it doesn't. And so it feels to me like it's just kind of like, we're just going to slap cancer on her in order to make her more interesting than she is.
There's so many good titles for this episode. I'm running.
So I don't know. It's weird, but so that's the thing. She wants to get the pizza. And so I thought throughout the film, like what's going to happen is she's going to eventually get to the pizza place and die, right? Like she's going to die of her cancer. Quietly, sure, like in this, sweeping musical thing, and she's gonna die, like pass away peacefully in all the chaos, right?
Yeah.
Sure, that's poetic. It's, romantic even. But as it is, like there's a boat and it's ferrying people off of the island, and she and Joseph Quinn have gotten the pizza, and she says, you need to be on that boat, but I'm not going. Like, I'm going to stay here in the pizza place, I guess. And a pizza place, day one. And so she's going to stay in the pizza place. And so she makes a lot of noise to distract the creatures so that he can book it. And she gives him the cat. And so he's like running with the cat through the city, like trying to like make it on the ferry, which is already in like moving, and he's like running down the dock, and so she makes the noise, but but as he, but I can carry you, and so he's running with Frodo, and like she's making the noise, but at some point he makes noise, like he trips over something or something, kicks something. I can't remember what it was. And they all like turn their attention to him, even though I'm like, well, she's making more noise. So how does this work? Anyway, and they're closer to her.
Embarrassing.
So they all the monsters like run after him now. And he barely escapes and jumps in the water with the cat. The cat never freaks out. And like he pops up, he's treading water with the cat, and the cat's just like, okay. And he swims over to the ferry and is pulled onto the ferry and makes it out.
He catches the ferry with just his
He
legs?
catches the ferry.
Wow.
Yep, he catches the ferry, and so he makes it out. Then she's like, okay, I'm like, okay, so what's going to happen then is I guess she's going to go back to the pizza place and die a la Walter White or something, like whatever. But instead, she makes it back to the pizza place, grabs an iPod docking station that has a speaker, and plugs her headphones in, and is like walking through the city listening to music. And then she like stands at an intersection on the street, like pops the headphones out so the music is blaring on the speaker, and an alien drops behind her because the music is blaring, and cut to black. So she dies.
Great.
But I'm like, but here's the problem. This is where I'm like, it's derivative, but not enough to make sense. Like, obviously, Quiet Place Part 1 ends with the death of John Krasinski. So it's like, but that's thematic and it makes sense, and it's a sacrifice.
Yeah.
But for her, she's already achieved, like, she's now achieved the thing. She got the cat and the guy to safety. There's no reason now for her to kill herself.
Yeah.
And the film ends with her doing that. Now, maybe you could make the argument, well, she got the pizza, and the pizza and her journey with Joseph Quinn reignited the humanity in her, reminded her that life is good. And she hadn't felt that in a while. And so now she's ready to go. And I'm like, why? But if she now knows that life is good, why didn't she get on the ferry with him and go have a good life somewhere?
Yeah, go try to experience more life.
Right. So I don't understand. So there's no sacrifice to it. There's no like character. Again, it's illogical for the character.
And it's cynical. It sort of reminds you, like, given the choice between an agonizing slow death by cancer or being eaten by an alien, you know, it's like, which would you choose? You know, it's like, well, I guess I'd choose my favorite slice of pizza, and then I would choose to be eaten by the alien. But like, that's not why we watch movies. That's like a trend that needs to go away with movies. Like, lately, movies are so downer and cynical that like we forgot that we went too far. We try to make movies as real as possible, and we drug all of our negativity into films.
Right.
And we poisoned them with our bad vibes.
Yeah, correct.
And now movies are depressing us, and it's like, what's going on? It's like,
why is this happening?
We flew too close to the sun.
Correct.
with the cynicism.
Correct.
You know?
Well, I'm like, but like, if it were me, and again, somebody was like, well, she has to die at the end, what do you do? I'm like, well, then what she does is she gets him to safety, gets the cat to safety by making all of this noise. And as they're getting to safety, she's standing in like this big noisy place, right?
Yeah.
Whatever it is, like a church bell, whatever it is. And it's like she's standing there, and the aliens are coming to her, and she's watching him make it to safety. And like, then she goes, that's sacrificial. Or you do it the other way, where she already knows he's safe.
Yeah.
So she goes back to the pizza place, and she has somehow in the course of the film found out how to kill these things. So she jerry rigs whatever she's got to do, grabs the shotgun, grabs whatever it is, and like, you know, creates a giant, you know, chain reaction that's going to create an explosion. And like, so she sets off an explosion or a gunshot or something. They all come running towards her, and she's taking out as many as she can. And as they get close to her, she's engulfed in a giant explosion that kills a bunch of them. Right now, she's a hero. On day one of the, well, really by this time it's like day 3. But like on day 3 of the thing, most of the film does not take place on day 1. Most of the film takes place on days 2 and 3. On day 3, like, she is a hero because she's killed so many of these things that even the army couldn't do it, but I found a way. Whatever it is, like, elevate her into legend, you know, in some way. Like, that's a more satisfying ending, even if it's a little more Hollywood. I don't know.
You have her the noise she makes, like the way, like, she's like, oh no, they're gonna eat they're going to eat him and my cat. What do I do? And she grabs the pizza, but she just chews it real loudly. Like she smacks really. They're like, oh, what is it? Ew. What is that?
Disgusting.
Stop.
God, let's go kill that
Hurry,
lady.
let's kill her quick. I can't stand it.
This is disgusting. You'd also expect in this film that there's something learned about the aliens that we didn't already know.
Yeah.
Like, you know, because we're seeing a different place and a different time, maybe we're going to see
different tactics.
Like, again, I'm kind of reminded, and this would be derivative, but like of the difference between Alien and Aliens, where Aliens is like, oh, let's introduce the idea of the queen alien, and you know that she lays the eggs, and the eggs have the face huggers, and the face huggers implant the I guess they implant the embryo or whatever they do. Anyway, I don't know how it works. Into the person, then the chest burster comes out, grows into the xenomorph. Like we finally finished the cycle, right? So it gave us something new with the queen alien. This doesn't really give us anything new. With the aliens, we don't learn anything new. There's not any development given to them, or like, obviously you don't want the thing where they run into the scientist and he's like, well, you see, we've been studying these creatures in the lab and we've discovered that if you pull their second finger and rotate it clockwise, it creates a chain reaction. Like, you don't want that, but like, you got to do something, like tell me something else about the aliens. You don't get that. And really where I hang a lot of this is the film is not a horror movie, and it's not tense really at all. Like as a thriller, it doesn't work. So I'm reminded of like in A Quiet Place Part 2, there's that moment where like the baby is in that vacuum chamber thing, and and like the dial is moving, and you're like, this baby's gonna die. Like everything's ratcheted up. There's aliens at the doorstep, and the baby's in the vacuum chamber, and everything's like going haywire, and the baby's gonna die, and the people are gonna die. And mom, who was it that has the foot that's all jacked up? And
the son, yeah.
The son has the jacked up foot, and meanwhile the daughter is out on this island, and she's getting attacked by this thing, and like it's all of these pieces, and there's so much tension with that.
Yeah.
There's none of that here. There is no tension. Everyone is completely like has bulletproof armor. Like no one's going to get hurt, no one's going to be injured, and nobody ever is. There's never even a moment where like one of them gets slashed by like a stray claw, or like there's nothing, and there's no gore. Like all of the, and I'm not even like a huge gore person, but I'm like, if you're going to show like people being taken by these monsters, every single time that happens, it's quickly. It's like the monster zooms through the frame and the person's just like vanishes, gone. And I'm like, leave behind some blood or like an arm or something. Like, I still don't know. Like, are these aliens eating these people?
Right. Or did
like,
did they just tackle them?
Yeah, they just tackle them and be like, stop it. You're too loud.
They haven't been given the kill order yet by their mothership.
Right, exactly. So I'm like, I don't understand why it's so bloodless, and I don't understand any of that. And here's the nail in the coffin. This was almost my my review for Letterboxd was this is just a glorified Netflix movie. It is very like Bird Boxian, or that was the one, right, where people were killing themselves when they looked into the thing. That's what it was, right? I'm getting them all confused because there's that one, and there was the one with what's her face and Mahershala Ali. But that was not
okay. Yeah, but we talked about how that was a sort of Bird Boxy, but like So Leave the World Behind was Julia Roberts and Mahershala Ali.
Yes, and then the other one was Sandra Bullock.
Sandra Bullock, where you're not supposed to look at them. at all.
My brain is conflating the two, but this is essentially the same thing as that.
Yeah.
And like, it even feels like Netflix because the monsters, I mean, they always have, but like are so similar to the Stranger Things monsters. Yeah. So it just
Joseph Quinn's in this movie too.
And Joseph Quinn's in this movie. It's just so like, it's just so Netflix, this movie.
Yeah.
And I don't even mean that like, look, obviously there's been some really good things on Netflix, but like there are those types of movies like Leave the World Behind and Bird Box, which make kind of a cultural impact, at least Bird Box did, but they're not necessarily like groundbreaking films. What was it? I think Red Letter Media coined a term to describe them. It was like mom horror or dad horror. It was something like that. It was like horror that your mom would like. I think they said something like that with Bird Box. I think it was like mom horror.
That's funny.
But that's exactly what it is. It's like, this is mom horror. You could take your mom to see this movie and she'd be fine with it. And granted, like, it would be too big of a tonal shift for this to be more akin to like Bone Tomahawk, but like at the same time, like there's got to be something, like there's got to be some scares and some tension, and like all it takes is that, you know, one of these characters gets harmed, like in some way, and they're just completely invincible. You know, she's making all this noise and the monsters can't get to her. Then they chase after him and they can't get to him. It just makes them look ineffective. These monsters.
Yeah. They're silly. Just silly little silly heads.
Exactly. Right. Exactly. So I don't know, man, like it's just, it's disappointing all around. I don't blame anybody. Like it's not a problem with John Krasinski or the world or the universe that he created. It's not even really a problem of, you know, the direction or the acting. It's just the story itself is weak. And I wish it was a little more. I just wish there was more to it than there is. And I think there's a way to keep most of it and just make it more effective. They just didn't quite, like, it just needed another pass or two, or like a new set of eyes on it to be like, hold on, you got to get rid of the cat. Like there's a very clear moment in the film where they end up back at Lupita Nyong'o's apartment, like her actual, like where she lives. And I'm like, oh, so she's going to leave the cat here, but she doesn't. And I'm like, man, I just don't understand. Like that was a clear out.
Yeah.
The cat ran away the one time. That's a clear out. The cat was submerged underwater for 3.5 minutes. That's a clear out. The cat's dead now.
Yeah.
But no, like it never happens. And so like, I don't know, compared to the tension of deliver your baby silently alone in a bathtub.
Right.
This is nothing. Like this is just nothing. There's nothing like that in this film. And that sucks. So anyway, that's Quiet Place Day 1. Again, I don't hate it. It just didn't work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's getting decent like response, I guess, from people.
It is.
But you know, like you said, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I feel like the first wave of people who are going to see a movie just always see what they want to see. And it really comes down to the subsequent audience and the word of mouth where it's, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's true. I mean, it has like an 87 on Rotten Tomatoes and a 74% audience score. So I think like the general public are a little less keen on it than the critics are. But again, like,
why do you think the critics like it so much?
I don't know. It's a good question. Like if I read some of these things, like Richard Roper says, Beautifully rendered and deeply moving conclusion.
Okay.
I don't think so. And let's see what else. So let's look at our top critics here.
Wait a minute. Richard Ripper said that
Yeah.
from the Chicago Sun-Times.
Mm-hmm.
That guy loves pizza. He lives in Chicago.
That's what it is.
He would say that.
Right.
Forget all the New York and Chicago critics.
To watch A Quiet Place day one is to recalibrate your senses, not to the alien horror movie you know is in store, but rather to the intimate human drama it hangs on to. I don't feel there was intimate human drama. I mean, it's two strangers trying to get pizza. A single act, this is from Sarah Michelle Fetters, moviefreak.com. A single act of kindness, a momentary instance of compassion. That's all it takes to help someone in their darkest hour. Heck, it may even be enough to save the world. I guess the idea is that Joseph Quinn has compassion on Lupita Nyong'o and helps her achieve her goal.
Uh-huh.
But I don't see it in the way that it's representative of a single act of kindness helping someone in their darkest hour. She doesn't feel despondent. She feels confident and like, I'm gonna go get that pizza. Like,
again,
it doesn't.
Heady indie drama is the right place for that sort of story.
Yeah.
If the most interesting thing in the movie is that your protagonist gets their slice of pizza before their death, that's like, that's not a horror film. Like, why do you have to drop that in the middle of a horror movie?
Right. Which you totally can.
Sure.
But it's just not done well here to me. It doesn't work for me. Brian Tallarico from RogerEbert.com says, what could have been a cash grab clearly has loftier aspirations, resulting in a film that's never boring and just provocative enough to spark big questions about what truly matters in this world when it's falling apart. What am I missing? Like, is it thematically about what it means to be human or what truly matters in this world? I don't think so. Like, it would, I don't know, I'm spitballing here, but like, what truly matters in this world? Family, connection with people. Like, if that's what you're trying to say, like, she wanted to reconnect with her father through the pizza they ate as a child, and she wants to connect with this stranger through him helping her with the goal. If that's what we're talking about, isn't there a better way of just saying like, hey,
I miss my dad.
My dad and I haven't spoken in years over an argument that I hardly remember, and the world is falling apart. I need to get to him and rekindle this relationship that's broken before there's no more time to do that.
He doesn't even know I'm sick.
Right. He doesn't even know I'm sick. And then the stranger saying like, look, I'll help you do that because he says like this is a good idea.
Yes.
He says his parents, he's sad at one point in the film because his parents are in England and he's like, I have no way to get to them. Like, I have no way to get home. Okay, that's great. Well, so now helping her with her quest to rekindle her relationship with her father makes sense. Like, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do what I can't.
Yep.
That now becomes important. To me, that's a better movie.
That
I wrote it
better.
in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I improv'd that film on the spot.
That's much better.
Kyle Smith, Wall Street Journal. A Quiet Place day one appropriately kept me in a frozen state, afraid to so much as crinkle a page in my notebook. It's not a popcorn flick, though. Popcorn is too noisy. It's more of a Raisinets movie.
Fuck off. Such a writery, stupid. Shut up. Did you like it? I can't even tell if he liked it. He just made a bunch of puns based on the premise.
It kept me in a frozen state, so afraid to crinkle a page in my notebook.
That's bullshit. No, you weren't.
The film's not scary, bro.
I guarantee that dude farted during the screening he was at. Please.
And looked at his watch 7 times.
Yeah, coughed. Give me a break.
Yeah, right.
I was so spellbound. I was afraid to move. Crinkle
Yes.
the page of a twitter of my fingers.
Yes.
Okay, Dickens. Whatever. I know filler writery bullshit when I hear it, and that's what that was, you know.
Right, sure. This is Seattle Times. Moira McDonald says, this is a rotten review. Nyong'o's prodigious talents are sadly wasted in this noisy, pointless movie, which never approaches the cleverness or the genuine scariness of the first two in the franchise. That's where I'm at with this thing.
Okay, yeah.
Lindsay Barr, Associated Press. This is a rotten review. Ultimately, Day One could have been set around any old apocalypse, tethering it to the rules of A Quiet Place, a smart premise whose novelty is impossible to recreate, let alone build a world upon, just holds it back. I don't know that holds it back, but it's certain the two things do seem incongruous. And I guess I'll stop with Vanity Fair. Richard Lawson says, how refreshingly nice it is to watch a summertime movie that lets us sit in our feelings and grim recollections this way, and figures that an adventure in its own right. So lets us sit in our feelings and grim recollections. I guess
I'm doing that already, man. That's my life.
Well, but sit in your feelings, like I don't feel like she sat in her feelings. Like no. You sit in your feelings.
She ate her feelings.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Like, I don't feel like that was well achieved. Like, maybe that's what they were aiming for, but I don't think they achieved it. So, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this is a fantastic film. I just don't see it. And I own the other two Quiet Place films. I like them. They're great. I particularly really love the second one, for whatever reason. I mean, they're both great, but like, I particularly love the second one. And like, I feel like I watched those the once, and right after that, I was like, they're good. These are good movies.
Yeah.
This, I'm walking out going, this is not a good movie, but it's not like a poorly made movie. It's just, it is not a good movie for me to have seen.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know, man. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think I am. I don't think I'm overanalyzing it, and I don't think that I'm misunderstanding it. I think I'm capable of understanding what they were going for and recognizing whether they achieved it. And to me, they didn't. I just can't get behind it, man. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe you'll love it. Like when it eventually drops wherever it's going to drop, Paramount Plus, probably. Check it out. Tell me if I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not going to watch it again.
Yeah.
So I don't know, unless you're like, dude, you were totally wrong. You've got to check it out again. Then I'll do it. But okay, that's it. Quiet Place Day One.
It's far from at the top of my list. So
yeah, I had high expectations. I really wanted it to be good. I really wanted, a good little story about an alien invasion.
Well, there's plenty of those. So
yep, I'll just go watch a different one.
All right. Well, that'll do it, I think. I'm going to have myself a Yorgos Lanthimos weekend.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to watch Killing of a Sacred Deer and The Favorite.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and I'm actually, so I'm going to end up seeing Deadpool in theaters that weekend.
Sweet.
So I recently rewatched the first one, and I'm popping over to watch the second one this weekend, I think, also. So
nice.
Just to get myself acclimated. All right, everyone.
Bye.
Bye. You called it emotional pizza, and I was thinking of I was at the library with my kids, and like there was other kids there this time, and this girl, I could just hear her mumbling something while she was playing, walking around with these blocks or whatever. And I realized what it was because she got right next to me. I was reading, and she got right up next to me, and she just goes, "Emotional damage," like that meme or whatever. And I was like, "What? Okay, get the fuck away from me."
Yeah, right. You're about to get some, lady.
This kid was like 5.
Yeah.
Why do you know this?
Yeah.
Ugh.
Oh, it was a child.
Oh yeah.
This whole time I was thinking you were talking about like a full-grown woman.
Oh no, this was a kindergartner.
Okay, all right, never mind.
These might have been her first words.
Full disclosure, you were not going to punch a kindergartner.
It's just like,
Maybe a full-grown woman, but not a kindergartner.
I was like Mr. Potato Head, like, would you just leave me alone?
Yes.